Now to round up a story that has drawn intense reaction on social media this week. A local attorney is calling the actions of an adoption agency unconscionable after a Houston mother who gave up her one-year-old son and immediately wanted to change her mind. Kiara Citizen Williams gave up her one-year-old son Bryce at a Northwest Houston UPS store, but then changed her mind within a matter of minutes. The agency involved, Christian Homes and Families, has refused to return Bryce and got a judge to terminate Kiara's parental rights. Kiara and her family must now wage a court battle to get Bryce back. So does a mother have a right to change her mind after giving up her child, or is the adoption agency operating legally? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in our newsroom is our Roundup panel. It's led by our Fox 26 senior legal analyst Chris Tritico, our news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning again, guys.
Good morning.
All right, so she says that the adoption agency gave her no time to reconsider this decision. What does the law in Texas say, Chris?
Well, let's look at it this way. You get 72 hours to revoke a car purchase, but not giving up your baby. Texas law has a waiting period for which you have a chance to think about what you're doing, and they didn't honor that. This story, if it wasn't so tragic, would be a great comedy routine, that you're giving up your baby at a UPS store. There isn't anything about this that is right. For the lawyer to call it unconscionable is probably not doing a service to what happened here. This is illegal, and it's probably kidnapping at best. I'm completely offended by this, and it takes so many organizations that are doing great work in helping people that can't raise their children, that want to give them up for adoption, and it's taken them, put them all in a bad basket by acting this way. If I sound a little offended, I am. Jackie Bally, let's start with you. You get 72 hours to revoke your truck purchase if you go to an auto dealership and you decide you don't want to do it. This adoption agency says once you sign this paperwork, lady, you're done.
Yeah, you get 72 hours for your truck. You get a couple of hours if you want to have an abortion. You get a lot of hours to rethink a serious decision like this. Now, my problem is when any mother is making this decision, at this point, you have to really be sure what you're doing, because how many mothers do you think who've given up their children have regretted that decision? So I think that her emotions are not atypical of a lot of young mothers who were in a difficult situation and had to do that. With all of that said, even her mother said that, well, if we would have known that she was actually thinking about this process, we would have adopted this child, who is the cutest little boy anyway, but we would have adopted this child ourselves. We can't really put all of the blame on this agency, because this is a decision, a serious decision that she should have thought about, she should have prayed about, and as you're walking through that door, you really should have known what you wanted to do. With all of that said, she should have the option to change her mind within a certain small time frame. I am really wondering, when she says she was coerced into this, how are you coerced into something? She actually signed it. So she signed her right to give this child away. They didn't make her sign it. She walked through the door and she did sign that.
What about that? I mean, she did sign the paperwork.
She's a teenager who's under distress, concerned about this, worried about this, and somebody tells her that it's irrevocable, or we don't even know if they said that to her, and she signs
Now, the paperwork
document.
said you can't revoke this, which is you can't do in Texas. But
She doesn't have a lawyer of her own to look over this. This is a no-brainer. I mean, I think that what the agency did is unbelievable. I don't know if it's a free adoption service or a paid adoption service. I don't know that. So
this was a for-profit, well, not for-profit, but it's not a government agency.
So I don't know, but it's very difficult to hold a teenager that's under distress like this about a contract situation, and it saddens me because a year away, now there's a family that has this child, and so if we go into litigation,
they've been waiting to adopt a baby.
And they've been waiting to adopt a baby, and if they, it just is a sad situation,
But
and you would think that there'd be grown-ups that would know better.
You can respond to that.
Oh, okay.
Let me go to Sally first. Hold that thought. Sally.
We mentioned that this story has triggered a lot of reaction on social media. And taking a look at the Facebook page this morning, This person says, why judge a mother in crisis? We don't know the whole story, and we have not walked in her shoes. Why not pray for her instead of judging her? And then taking a look at some other comments here. Leah says she relinquished her rights as a parent. End of story. 1 hour, 1 year, 10 years. She still signed him over to the state. Somebody else asking, where is the father? A reporter who's been on this story, Greg Grugan, says he's coming back into the picture. If he's listed on the birth certificate, Chris, does that make a difference? And what if he's not listed on the birth certificate?
Well, after a year, it certainly makes a difference. This is not a situation where apparently they didn't know who the father was. Excuse me, if she knows who the father, Sally and I are both suffering from coughs today, so if she knows who the father is and the father wants to be in the picture, he has rights, and you can't give up your baby for adoption without the father also giving up his parental rights. And so there's a lot at stake here, and I think this is going to be reversed in the courts, and the mom's going to get that baby back, and then we're going to see if the father comes in and says, wait a minute, this is my child, she gave it up, I want my child. He may actually end up winning all of the rights to the child at the end of the day, or at least the majority of the possessory rights of the child at the end of the day. This is something that should go all the way to the legislature, for the legislature now to examine how private adoption agencies are going to operate in the state of Texas. Because if they can do this without following the law as it is, we may need to toughen that law up and ensure that they're not doing this to other people. And I disagree with the tweeter, is that the right word? Who said she signed it, it's over. That is not true, and it's unfair to talk that way about a young mother who is confused and didn't get the right under the law to even think about it.
But think about the comments both of you are making, because if we're saying we can't hold a young mother responsible for her actions, which is pretty much her action signing away her child, then if she's not responsible for her actions as far as signing a document, is she responsible enough to be a mother? You know, you're looking at her actions as she gave away her son, and then now she's regretting that decision. But that means she may not, and we don't know this young lady, and we do have empathy for her, but she may not have the cognitive skills, the emotional skills to handle being a mother if you can't even read a document.
What about that?
Well, her mom, if she knew about it, would adopt a child, would have supported her in raising the child, and the mother and the grandmother has said that. You know, I don't know how old she was. I don't know if she was under 21 or not. But if she didn't have the legal right to be able to drink. The least that the adoption agency could ask for was the parent, the mother of the teenage mom, to be there, or our lawyer, or somebody to represent her rights. It feels like, without knowing the facts, and it feels like that they wanted to get the baby quickly, and they made her sign a document that they shouldn't have been able to.
All right, and we're going to leave it right there, but it just seems to me that the legislature ought to be looking at ways, Sally, to ensure that this is the final decision that someone wants to make, because it is, without a doubt, the most important decision a young mother or a young father can ever make. And so if you're going to do this, maybe at least give them time with a counselor to talk these issues out and make sure it's exactly what they want to do. Then you may stop situations just like this.